My name is Robert Steck, and I am doing the Oral History Association for my presentation. Rather than assuming knowledge comes from archives, official records, or outside observations, collaborating with community members recognizes that the lived experience is knowledge and has value. According to the Oral History Association, oral history refers to both the interview process and the products that result from recorded spoken interview, whether audio, video, or in other formats. Oral histories can be used for research, museum exhibits, publications, including video and audio documentation. Oral history does not include home videos or other random media. It must include an interviewer and a narrator. Ultimately, the primary purpose of any organization is to cater to the needs of its members. The OHA brings together people of many different communities, backgrounds, and from the private and public spheres. Teachers, students, historians, archivists, librarians, filmmakers, and more make up the membership in the organization. The main purpose of the Oral History Association is to promote the standardization of the practices of conducting an oral interview. These practices include ensuring interviews are performed for ethical and historic reasons, encourages the interviewing of diverse groups, and advocates for written consent with all information obtained and documented from the oral interview. The Oral History Association publishes a blog that allows the organization to write articles about important current issues within the oral history field. Topics like COVID-19, political upheaval, and information about ongoing projects. It acts much like the organization's academic journal, but is published on a more regular basis. The OHA supports regular podcasts that explore the field of oral history and make the information contained accessible for all. The podcast can be found on the OHA website, but also Apple Podcast and Google Play free of charge. The OHA newsletter is a source for the ongoings within the organization. It contains stories about people within the organization and their accomplishments, lists of different awards given each year, lists of upcoming events, lists of all the people who are part of the leadership of the organization, as well as looking forward to future newsletters. It also contains stories gained from oral history interviews. The December 2019 newsletter tells the story of the Topaz Japanese internment camp and its preservation. This is one area of our history that oral history interviews have brought into the public conscious. Without these stories, this period of history would have been swept under the rug and been completely forgotten about. The interviews conducted have been given a voice to the people who might otherwise have been ignored. The OHA website hosts several guides aimed at those wanting to do oral interviews. These include several basic introductions to oral history, a guide to conducting the best interview possible, and a guide about field audio recording equipment. This list is a great starting point for anyone interested in the oral history field. There are several workshops dedicated to the people's knowledge of oral history and its importance held each year. Although normally held in person, due to COVID this year, the workshops were held by the OHA were held online. The workshops covered a wide range of topics, including interview techniques, project designs, recording tutorials, and ethical ramifications of interviews. The OHA has published a pamphlet series that is a detailed guide to many aspects of oral history. There is a pamphlet for how oral history interacts with the law, another that helps teachers to teach students the importance of oral history and how to conduct a good interview, with another with information on oral history and community projects, and finally one dedicated to family history. The Independent Practitioners Toolkit was created by Independent Practitioners Task Force of the Oral History Association. This toolkit was created for use by people who do not have a formal job within the history field. These include freelancers, independent contractors, consultants, artists, community historians, and small business owners. It provides information on ways to conduct independent contract work. This, like most of the resources provided by the OHA, provides a standardization of oral history within the current gig economy. For use, especially during the current pandemic, the OHA created a remote interviewing guide. It includes information about what kind of computer hardware to choose, whether to do purely audio interviews or use video, how to store your interview, as well as information on online security to keep your oral history safe. The OHA gives access to both regional and international historic oral history organizations. These are a resource for people who are interested in primary source interviews from both around the country and around the world. These interviews can give a researcher a more localized view of the history they are exploring. The OHA has a list of 60 organizations and centers dedicated to oral history. These include both public and private universities and public organizations such as the Smithsonian. Becoming a member of the OHA has many benefits, including access to the Oral History Review, the OHA's academic journal, a digital newsletter 5 times a year, and the ability to form professional connections with other members, several different awards that are given out each year to the OHA, and discounts to the OHA annual meeting. Memberships cost $100 a year and $35 for students. The OHA gives out several yearly awards. The Article Award, the Mason Multimedia Awards, and the Book Award are just 3 of the many awards presented each year. The Article Award is presented for a published article that uses oral history to make a significant contribution to scholarship and/or oral history. Articles that are nominated are judged by certain criteria, including its contribution to history inquiry, its contribution to oral history, and its adherence to the OHA practices for interviews. Much like the Article Award, the Book Award is presented to a published book that uses oral history to make significant contribution to important subjects in oral history and/or scholarship. The Book Award also follows the same criteria as the Article Award. The Mason Multimedia Awards are a set of up to 3 awards given each year to recognize projects, collections, exhibits, and presentations that add to the field of oral history. These projects may either be physical or virtual and include things such as museum exhibits, documentaries, films, theatrical productions, and podcasts. All of the winners are presented with a plaque and a 1-year membership to the OHA and free registration at the yearly meeting. Twice a year, the OHA publishes the Oral History Review Journal. This journal holds both the theory and the practices related to the oral history field. According to the OHA, the journal's primary mission is to explore the nature and significance of oral history and advance the understandings of the field among scholars, educators, practitioners, and the general public. The review has been published since 1973, and members have the ability to access past archives of the Oral History Review Journal. This gives members access to oral history sources they may no longer be in publication. The association supports its members by providing cutting-edge information and hosting opportunities to gather, share work, and learn from one another. By joining the OHA, a person gains the ability to make both personal and professional connections with like-minded people in the oral history field. Much like other professional organizations, being a member of the OHA can help you narrow your goals. The OHA provides access to a forum called the Oral Hist, which is a network of scholars who work in the oral history field. According to the OHA, Oral Hist is an important medium for the discussion of oral history issues and research. The OHA offers special speed networking sessions. These sessions allow professionals to quickly meet other professionals from different backgrounds and develop a community with other like-minded people. The session also allows newcomers to dive headfirst into the oral history field and meet professionals who they would not normally have access to. According to the OHA, the goal of the speed networking event is to provide a lively and engaging way to build bridges between established OHA members and those new to the field. The OHA sends out monthly emails to its members to keep them up to date with the ongoings of the oral history projects, as well as other news from within the organization. The Oral History Association hosts an annual meeting that brings together people from around the globe. The gathering allows people from the novice to the experts in the field of oral history to mingle and learn new skills. At the meeting, scholarships are offered to everybody at any level, whether the person is presenting at the meeting or not. If awarded, the scholarship covers the entire cost of the conference and is offered yearly. Mentorships allow people new to oral history to learn from veteran historians. Mentorships allow the mentor to help direct the mentee's professional development, but also gives both people a chance to connect with other oral historians on a more personal level. The OHA has a research fund. The fund undertakes oral history research in situations of crisis in the United States and internationally. The funds can be used but are not limited to wars, national disasters, political and/or economic ethical repression, and other currently emerging events of crisis proportions. The OHA will be awarding 11 year-long fellowships of $60,000 apiece, oral histories from communities which have been historically marginalized in the field, such as Indigenous people, people of color, people with disabilities, and working class people are particularly encouraged to apply. The primary purpose of the Oral History Association is to standardize the practice of oral history and protect the integrity of any information gained from an interview. The OHA has many useful resources such as their journal, the Oral History Review, their web guides on how to properly conduct an oral history project, and their support network, which connects people interested in oral history from around the world. The OHA also has many important initiatives such as their yearly conference, their fellowships, and their research fund. Having been involved in an oral history project about the death penalty in Illinois during my undergraduate degree, I can honestly say I wish I had known about this organization, as it would have helped me to do a much better interview.